I like that you have this pinned post, but there's some confusion around the recording link is missing. Like, what is this challenge? Who is it for? How did we get here? And again, it seems like the vast majority of the programming in this community happens through events. So maybe all of this is clarified at events, but for someone like me who might be joining through a web experience, I think having more clarity around like what each of the programs is.
Welcome to Community Dissection, where we dissect online communities to give you an inside look at community design, architecture, and evolution. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Community Dissection. In this episode, we are going to dissect the member experience in the Women in Blockchain Talks community, which was recommended to us as an example of a phenomenal membership community. So I'm really excited to dive in. I have with me two fabulous guests. Todd Nielsen is back for another episode. Todd, you want to say hi?
Hey, everybody. Great to see you again. Thanks for bringing me back on the show.
Absolutely. And new guest, Erin O'Neill. Erin, you want to say hi?
Hey, hello, everybody. So happy to be here, Bri. I have not watched any of these, but I have seen them and they look really cool. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. All right. Excited to have your insights. If you want to connect with Todd and Erin, their LinkedIn information is going to be in the description of this video. Well, let's dive in. So I wanted to start by immediately showing you what we're talking about. So this is the LinkedIn page for Women in Blockchain Talks. And from this LinkedIn page, it took me to a landing page that explained a little bit more about the community. So I don't want to spend too much time on the landing page because I'm going to toss that ball to somebody in a marketing team somewhere to dissect. But I will say, we'll just do a brief little tour here. So we have a quiz, which I've seen this quiz touted a couple different places in the community. I didn't actually take it, but I'm curious if that maybe pops you out into a different member journey, or if it tells you what type of member you are, or how they may be in onboarding.
Yeah. What kind of data are they collecting on that? And how does it help them create their community experience?
Oh, I'm curious. The problem is I don't know much. I'm a woman, but the blockchain talks part of this community is not something that I'm super familiar with, but okay.
I mean, can I just say that I love communities for women, especially women in male-dominated spaces like tech.
So needed, and such an amazing impact to provide more resources and support for women. This community, right out the gate, appears to be really heavily driven by events. So if you've seen another episode, you know that I like to say that there's three pillars to community programming: events, conversation, and content. And anytime I see events, I'm already impressed when there is events, because events are really hard to do. And if they're going to work, you have to be providing value for people. You're going to know, I think a lot of communities throw out conversation and keep conversation spaces going that actually aren't providing value. And it's really hard to tell. But if an event is not providing value, you will know immediately, because people will not come to a second one. So the fact that they have so many events is a great sign. And this is the founder, Lena D. Osborne. So this is, let's see, featured in. Okay, so one thing I would note is that it did take us quite a bit of scrolling to get to join the community. This is more of a UX landing page thing, but I would add a couple more buttons. If I'm coming to this page and I know I want to join the community, I think that could be further up on the page.
Is there a button at the top somewhere, or a menu tree that says community?
There's not.
Okay.
It goes right into sponsored. So I think a nice little button. I mean, there's plenty of real estate here. And when I'm coming to this page, I know that it's Women Blockchain Talks. So I think you can kind of make that logo a little bit smaller, make the call to action a little bit clearer of join our community. But there's this nice header up here. And when you join, it directed me to this page, which is, the link is library, but it's also it's the same link if I click on dashboard or my library. And this appears to be the landing page that gives you the whole ecosystem of the community. So wanted to dive into a couple elements here, and then Todd and Erin, I'll ask What's something that you loved about the design and the experience? What's something you might modify, and maybe something you would add? But I'll just walk us through this experience here. So I'll click into a couple additional spaces. Upcoming events, front and center. Love that. I think like an event-based community, again, is a great way not only to launch, but to sustain those connections and provide the support. So lots of events happening and lots of events you're able to register for. I had to scroll all the way down to get to, and this part feels a little bit confusing to me, having like my products, maybe just taking that title out and then saying, well, this is how you access the community, because it kind of feels like this is the community ecosystem, but then this is just leading us to a different platform where the conversation is being had. So could clarify that language a little bit, maybe calling it something different, maybe calling this space that we're about to enter into it by a different name is one thing that I notice. Actually, before okay, we have the quiz, my library, WIBT. I want to make sure there's nothing else to click on here. This is just their main site, I think. Let's look. And then we'll dive. Yeah, okay. Oh, this is a different homepage.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, membership versus community. Oh, that's a little confusing to me. Okay, now we're going down a different rabbit hole. Okay, so membership is different.
Membership tiers.
Okay.
Okay, this actually answers. So we'll head into the community because I started to see. So you saw here, okay, announcements. At the bottom, it says community-general. So that kind of hinted off to me like, oh, maybe there's another level of the community. So it seems like the community is the free interaction and events. And then maybe perhaps membership. We'd have to read all of this.
Yeah.
It's just too much text for me.
Corporate membership, you get everything available, plus access to our blockchain business breakfast offering.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Interesting. So there is a whole ecosystem of products here with the community and membership. I think having it all outlined in like one clear space and how, because a lot of times if you're coming from the community world, community membership are kind of like interchangeable, like a membership community is a thing. So differentiating like free community, paid membership, even like just including like little words to help clarify some of that language, I think would be helpful. But let's dive into where this general community is hosted. So this is hosted in the Kajabi Community's platform. And it's always a little tough on these episodes to differentiate because so much of the design of the community is limited by the platform that you choose. I want to kind of differentiate between critique of the platform itself and critique of how the community is being programmed and designed within that platform and experience. So we'll arrive here at the bottom. We have actually, this is a great tout we did a full dissection of the Kajabi creator community, which also uses this platform. So if you want to see that dissection, we go into a lot of detail with this platform. But let's dive in because there's some general conversation. All right, some activity happening.
General update feed.
Introduction Monday.
Looks like a lot of these are done by Amala. I'm wondering if that's their community manager.
Yes.
And usually when you see a channel called General Updates, it implies that these are updates from the community.
Mm-hmm. This is fun. I like these like little badges from on the platform.
Those are cute.
But
yeah, I like them.
What I really like here is the rituals. So they clearly have some rhythm around the content. Diversity Tuesday. They said Introduction Monday, Spotlighting Thursday. So they have some rhythm and ritual here, which I like.
I'm just noticing the same thing. I'm looking for engagement with those things too, just seeing if they're landing with the members.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a little bit, not a ton. Let's see here. Let's head over into some of these other spaces, jobs and career board.
Yeah, I'd almost like to see, this is a Kajabi wish list item. Could I see what the trending content is? Since we've got kind of all these different circle groups here, it'd be nice for me to, like, if I'm a frequent returner, how do I find what the most recent stuff is?
Yes.
Where's the most active places
Definitely.
to go?
Yeah, there's
you kind of have to sift.
There is a leaderboard on the left. I wonder if
the leaderboard, I think, is more for members. I would, right under leaderboard, I would love to have like home feed that is a little bit more algorithm based that just pulls from each of these posts and feeds.
And the leaderboard, when you pulled it up, the default was for all time. I would probably switch that so that monthly was the default when it comes up.
Yes. Yep, that's a great point. Okay, well, that's awesome. I don't know that Denise is like on the admin team, so that's awesome that they're like in the lead. That's a really engaged member. I'm like curious what the points are and how you earn them. I love transparency. If you're going to do gamification, I need transparency, which is like a Kajabi limitation, it seems, but that's a little design pet peeve of mine. But let's move over into, there's challenges and then meetups. And challenges was also a little bit confusing when we first dove in here. So I like that you have this pinned post, but there's some confusion around the recording link is missing. Like, what is this challenge? Who is it for? How did we get here? And again, it seems like the vast majority of the programming in this community happens through events. So maybe all of this is clarified at events, but for someone like me who might be joining through a web experience, I think having more clarity around like what each of the programs is and how to get onboarded in the community, even having like an onboarding challenge, like a get started challenge, which just seems like this is an AI ongoing challenge. So it's like, this is just kind of always standing maybe. I can't tell. It seems like the Kajabi challenges are made to be time bound. So it doesn't seem like they lend themselves to being ongoing. Yeah. Any thoughts here, Todd or Aaron?
Yeah, I agree. Definitions of challenges and, why people are doing them. Is this for their personal gain, for community gain, for professional gain, and then an orientation to using them. And I love your idea of having an onboarding challenge to kind of warm you up to using the challenges.
Yeah, I would add to that. Yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity to get people scaffolded into the platform so that they can feel like they now know their way around a little bit. That would be my number one challenge for somebody coming in the door. And that idea of scaffolding means it needs to be something a little simpler to do. Like looking at this, like there's 7 steps in this. It's a little bit daunting. I wonder what the completion rate is. And my point of comparison here this is my first time looking at Kajabi really. And the only platform that comes to mind that's comparable to it is Influitive, which is also challenge driven. And one of the things that I like about that platform, as opposed to what I'm seeing here, is that it actually tells me what the points are worth. If I'm, am I getting gamification points for completing this? So I think it goes back to what Aaron was saying, like, what's the incentive here aside from my own intrinsic, I'll learn something, which is great, but, give me some points too.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love the transparency. There's really like quite a bit missing, I'll be honest, from the user experience in this Kajabi platform. Like when I think of a challenge, I think of like, okay, there's like these different actions and like I complete them and then it like moves me to the next one. And really all of the challenges like interface on this platform does is like shows me a pinned post, which it seems like I can't do like a pinned post over here. It's like the same style of like post feed, but I just get to have a pinned post where I like include some instructions. And that just, to me, that's not like a challenge necessarily. And this is not a critique on the community itself, but just I think there might be some other platforms that would be a little bit more conducive to the creating the type of behavior that they clearly want to see and they're trying to structure for, but there's just some limitations within this platform that I think make it really difficult to actually see that engagement and behavior.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, when we first came into the community space here, it was I think, what was it, community -general. And as I'm looking down that left-hand margin, there's that drop down there for general. What is that? Oh, okay. So maybe there is a role-based, like a membership special set of circles. If I've gotten a paid membership,
then you would have another item on that list that you
yeah.
Mhm.
So an opportunity here, something that they could do is, if there's a place to give their upsell pitch, become a member, or become a premium member or something like that.
like that. I've seen that on different platforms. Where have I seen that? Oh, on Teal, what is it called? Teal HQ, where that other drop-down item will be there and it'll give you a few items and then blur out the rest of them. And then it'll say, if you want the rest of this, like upgrade, push this button. So it'll give you a taste of what you're missing out on.
Yeah. And I think this community actually is a good example. I tend to not recommend the freemium model to my creator community clients. And partly because I think what I suspect has happened is happening in this community, which is you end up building two different communities and you end up focusing your effort. And this is all like conjecture because we're not in the membership and we're supposing a lot of things here. But what ends up happening is you end up investing more of your time and energy into the paid community. And so your free community ends up not actually, the whole point of your free community is to become a lead magnet for your real community. But when you invest less time in your free community, you come in here and you're like, well, why would I pay? I'm not saying like a ton of great interaction or content or programs. Again, we haven't attended any events, but I'm like, well, why would I pay more if I'm not like seeing that reflected here? And so it creates some tension between the free and paid. You're essentially just building two different ecosystems when it's actually going to be in your best interest and your community members' best interest to dedicate your time and energy and focus into one community that is also making you money.
Yeah.
That's a really great insight. Yeah.
And they did state that in this case, the difference was that if you're a paid member, you get access to a special regular event series. So maybe that's the attempt to still keep the community all together. You just get one extra perk if you're a paid member. Yeah.
And I definitely I've seen communities, I love using, so of those three pillars that I talked about, events, conversation, and content, I think using events and content from your community to putting those out for free and using those as lead magnets, it gets so messy when you start using the conversation pillar as a free version. So you can do a one-off event that's free and you're like, hey, here's a free event. It's also open to our community. By the way, come join our community. You get this whole ecosystem of programs. When you do conversation, you're like, here's some free conversation. Come into the better conversation over here. I don't know. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't work well in execution. It's a nice idea, but I think it's really hard to execute well. I don't know. Maybe you guys have seen great examples of it, but I wrestle with it.
I mean, we used in the last community that I managed, we definitely used the content and events as the lead magnet to gain more people into the community. So that stuff was available to all. It helped our SEO. It helped our social media marketing and our recruiting efforts. And then, but you only have access to the conversations if you join the community because it was in a private Slack.
Right. Yeah.
And it worked well for us to do it that way.
Yeah. Well, let's dive back into here. I went on a little rant there, but we'll regroup. So here we are on Meetups, which Meetups appears to be at least overlapping with. So if you go back here to the landing page, these are our upcoming events. And I see the blockchain business breakfast. Okay, there's a summit happening in 2024. So I see the blockchain. Yeah, really similar tokenization.
Yeah, and before we had to look back and forth to see, are these the same things? Are these different? So we'll definitely look at language consistency around the community in general, making sure that you're calling one thing all the way through.
Yes, definitely. Because get confusing. Now you can join the next event or membership. Yeah, I think it's awesome. Okay, you can book your tickets. It's clear they have like a really robust product. There's events, there's membership. So I think just some clarity when you initially go to the first page about like who goes where for what and which product is for which people. I think it just needs a little bit of clarification because clearly they have awesome events and programming happening. It just needs to be tidied up a little bit, in my opinion. We did. Okay, that takes you to the same page. So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Well, actually, I won't stop sharing. Todd and Aaron, I know we like discussed things as we went along, but overall, what's something you love about the community and something you'd adjust?
I love the visual design and sense of identity, with the space. Beautiful homepage. Aside from some of the sign posting issues, I think it's got a nice sense of identity. It looks like they've got some nice sponsorship backing as well, for what they're doing. So, I think they're clearly doing something right by having some backing for this important group. I think what I'd like to see is precisely this page that you're on right now. We've got this header that's not doing a lot right here. It's just the logo. I would almost use that in the way that, like, I've seen, if you've been to landing page, they've got this beautiful mouse over graphic that can take you to the different parts of the community that I think works really nicely. This is a terrific candidate for something like that. Let me mouse over and get to the conversations or get to the content or get to the meetups, all here in this one spot. And I think it's just a better use of the real estate. So that would be my big wish.
Love that. It's a great recommendation, John.
Yeah, that is a good one. So what I love about it is that, language is so important, and especially with the member experience. So the fact that it's called Women Blockchain Talks makes me immediately think of TED Talks, which makes me think of thought leadership, So, and TED Talks are all, event and content based stuff. So I like that they drive with events in line with that. And then where I think the opportunity with that is to lean into that thought leadership and add content and copy around their website, maybe in line with, Todd, what you were saying, to help navigate, like just really include some content in there about, what they believe in, what their mission is, what they're driving towards, and how getting involved with these different programs can help, always some testimonials and some goals that people have achieved by being a part of the community would help.
Yeah. I love it. Thanks, Erin. Yeah, it's so tricky dissecting communities from a two-dimensional perspective on a screen, because
there's so much we don't know.
There's so much we don't know. And community, it's a 3, if not 4-dimensional creature. And so I would suspect, especially with like how much they have happening in events, it's like the connections and like the vibe and solving the problem for women who work in blockchain, like that does appear to me to be happening just from like the number of events they have. There's like these challenges. I'm really curious, side note, usually when someone chooses to build community in Kajabi, it's because they've already used Kajabi as a course. I didn't see anything about a course. Even here.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's so.
Yeah, I've used Kajabi before, and only for a course. And yes. I was, when we were talking about how we don't know much about this community, I was curious if this community is focused on education or is it more networking. I think that I took a leap and assumed that it's thought leadership. So yeah, we don't have all that information.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. More clarity needed there, but clearly, okay, resources and education. So there's clearly like a lot of activity happening, and I'm guessing that there's a lot of value for its members. What's lacking is the clarity around the navigation in this two-dimensional experience online. So I'll keep any critique from like, I think that there's actually like really great connections and education happening here, but I would like to see it be a little bit more accessible through the online experience. And some ways I think they can do that. Todd, you outlined the landing page of the community, this dashboard being a little bit clearer and having a better glimpse into the ecosystem of programs available. And honestly, like I would find a platform that's a little bit more conducive to more community programs than Kajabi communities. That's my personal opinion. But I think there's other platforms that could serve the community purpose a little bit better.
Also wanted to point out that after I said we don't know what kind of community this is, it says on that page right there, it's a diversity-driven blockchain education and networking ecosystem. So it says clearly what kind of community it is.
There we go. No, that hits all the great pillars. Like it's amazing. And it like, I'm looking at this background image. I'm like, wow, there's people at the events. There's testimonials.
Oh, there is testimonials. There's
a summit, this gallery, like this looks awesome. It's just hard for me to like pull all those little bits on this like web experience, but nothing a few tweaks could not fix on that. All right. Awesome. Thank you all for joining us. Like and subscribe this video for more dissections on membership communities in season 2, or head back over to season 1 to check out some of the communities we dissected from big brands all around the world. Erin and Todd, thank you so much for joining, and hope you have a great rest of your day.